In the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, there was a wealthy woman named Adesua. Adesua was the owner of a big institution, a company where many people worked. But Adesua was not a kind boss. She was harsh, mean, and always angry. Every day, she would shout at her workers, calling them names and treating them like they were nothing. She would hit them with a broom if they made a mistake, and she enjoyed seeing them afraid of her. Even though her workers worked very hard, Adesua would not pay them their salaries on time. She liked to see them beg for their money, only to give them a little and keep the rest for herself. Adesua's company was one of the biggest in the city, and the people respected her because of her wealth and power. But no one loved her because of how cruel she was. The workers whispered about her behind her back, calling her the wicked madam. But Adesua didn't care. She enjoyed being feared and worshipped. She thought that because she had money and power, she could treat people however she liked. Adesua had a younger brother named Owowo. Owowo was the complete opposite of his sister. He was kind, humble, and always ready to help others. He lived a simple life in the neighboring town with his wife Obey. They didn't have much, but they were happy because they had each other. Obey was known in the town for her gentle nature and willingness to help anyone in need. Now, Adesua had a secret that she kept from everyone in the city. She had an old sick mother who lived in a small room at the back of her grand house. Mama had been ill for many years, and her mind was not as sharp as it used to be. Adesua was ashamed of her mother and did not want anyone to know that she was related to someone who was sick and poor. Even though Adesua had all the money in the world, she did not care for her mother properly. She barely visited her and made sure that Mama stayed hidden where no one could see her. But as time went on, Mama's condition worsened and she needed more care. Adesua did not want to be burdened with her mother's care, so she came up with a wicked plan. She decided to push the responsibility of caring for Mama onto her brother's wife, Obey. She knew that Obey was kind and would not refuse to help. Adesua thought to herself, why should I waste my money on a sick old woman? Let Obey care for her. After all, she's married to my brother. It's her duty. One day, Adesua went to visit Owowo and Obey in town where they lived. This was a rare occasion, as Adesua never bothered with her brother or his wife. She arrived in her fancy car, wearing expensive clothes and jewelry, looking very important. Owowo and Obey were surprised to see her. They welcomed her warmly, even though they were unsure why she had come. After some small talk, Adesua began her scheme. Ogogo, Obey, she said with a serious face. I have something important to discuss with you. Our mother is very ill, and she needs someone to care for her. I have been doing my best, but with my busy schedule running the company, it's becoming too much for me. I think it's time for Mama to come and live with you. Obey, you are a woman, and it's your duty to take care of your husband's mother. Obey was taken aback. She knew that Mama was sick, but she never imagined that Adesua would ask them to take her in. They were already struggling to make ends meet, and caring for a sick old woman would be a huge burden. But Obey was kind and respectful, so she did not refuse. Of course, Adesua, Obey replied softly. We will take care of Mama. She is family. Adesua smiled, but it was a cold smile with no warmth in it. Good, she said. I'll send Mama to you tomorrow. Make sure you take good care of her. She needs constant attention. The next day, a small rusty car arrived at Owowo and Obey's house. Inside was Mama, looking frail and weak. Obey's heart ached as she saw the state her mother-in-law was in. She welcomed Mama into her home with open arms knowing that life was about to get even harder. Days turned into weeks, and Obey did her best to care for Mama. She cooked for her, bathed her, and made sure she was comfortable. Mama, though not fully aware of her surroundings, seemed to find some peace in Obey's gentle care. Ogogo helped as much as he could, for he had work to do in the fields to provide for the family. Meanwhile, Adesua continued her life in Lagos, not giving a second thought to her mother or the burden she had placed on her brother and his wife. She was too busy running her company, making money, ordering foods online, and living a lavish and reckless lifestyle. Every now and then, she would call Obey, not to ask about Mama's health, but to give orders and criticize Obey's efforts. "Is Mama eating well?" Adesua would ask in a harsh tone. "You must make sure she eats properly. I don't want to hear that you're neglecting Mama. And don't forget to keep her clean. If she gets any sicker, it will be your fault." Obey would quietly listen to Adesua's harsh words, biting back her tears. She knew that she was doing her best, but Adesua's constant criticism made her feel like she wasn't doing enough. Ogogo tried to comfort his wife, telling her that they were doing a good job and that they shouldn't let Adesua's words get to them. But deep down, Obey felt the weight of the responsibility growing heavier each day. One day, Adesua decided to visit her brother and his wife to check on her mother. She arrived at Ogogo and Obey's house, her face set in a stern expression. Obey welcomed her in, and they went to the small room where Mama was resting. Mama looked frail, but she was clean and well fed, thanks to Obey's care. Adesua looked around the small, humble home with disdain. She had always thought of her brother's life as pitiful, and being in their home only made her feel more superior. "How is Mama?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Mama is doing better," Obey replied quietly. "She still has her moments, but we are managing." Adesua sneered. "Managing? That's all you can do, isn't it? Just manage. If I were taking care of Mama, she would be in much better condition. But of course, I'm too busy with my important work." Obey bit her lip to keep from crying. She knew that Adesua was being unfair, but there was nothing she could say that would change her sister-in-law's mind. As the days went on, Adesua's visits became more frequent. Each time she came, she found something to criticize. "Why is Mama's room so small? Why is she wearing these old clothes? Why isn't there more food in this house?" Adesua would demand, making Obey feel more and more inadequate. Obey and Owowo struggled to keep up with Adesua's demands, but no matter what they did, it was never enough. Adesua's constant nagging and harsh words began to take a toll on Obey's health. She was always tired, always stressed, and always worried that she wasn't doing enough for Mama. But despite everything, Obey never gave up. She continued to care for Mama with love and patience, even as her own health began to suffer. Owowo supported his wife as best as he could, but he too was feeling the strain. One day, things came to a head. Adesua arrived at their home in a foul mood. She had just had a terrible day at work, and she was looking for someone to take out her anger on. When she entered Mama's room, she noticed that the old woman's bed was slightly untidy. "Why is this bed not made properly?" Adesua shouted, her face red with anger. "Can't you do anything right, Obey? You are so lazy and useless. I should never have trusted you with Mama's care." Obey, who had been holding back her feelings for so long, finally broke down. "I am doing my best, Adesua. I have been taking care of your mother with everything I have. Even though we have so little, I have never complained even when you treat us so badly. But I am human too, and I can only do so much." Ogogo stepped in to defend his wife. Adesua, that's enough. Obey has been nothing but kind and patient with her mother. Despite how hard things have been for us, you have no right to speak to her this way. But Adesua was not used to being challenged. Her anger only grew. How dare you speak to me like that? She screamed. I am your elder sister and you would show me some respect. Owowo stood his ground, his eyes filled with a determination that Adesua had never seen before. Respect is earned, Adesua, not demanded, he said firmly. You have treated us like we are nothing, and yet we have done everything we can to care for Mama. We may not have much, but we have done our best with the little we have. If you cannot appreciate that, then maybe you should take Mama back and care for her yourself. Adesua was stunned. She had never expected her brother to speak to her in such a way. She had always seen him as weak and submissive, someone she could easily control. But now, she realized that Owowo had more strength than she had given him credit for. Angry and humiliated, she stormed out of the house, called the police to get him arrested, and vowed never to set her feet in their home again. Few days later, Owowo's kind neighbors came for his release. For a while, things became peaceful in Owowo and Obei's home without Adesua's constant interference. They were able to care for Mama in their own way with love and patience. Mama's condition remained stable, and though life was still hard, Obei felt a sense of relief. She no longer had to endure the harsh words and criticism that had made her life so difficult. But life in Lagos was not going well for Adesua. After she left her brother's house that day, things began to unravel in her life. Her workers, fed up with her cruel statement and refusal to pay their wages, started to drop their resignation letters and leave her company one by one. They had finally had enough of the wicked madam, and without workers, her business began to suffer. Adesua tried to find new workers, but her reputation had spread throughout the city. No one wanted to work for a woman who treated people so badly and refused to pay them what they were owed. Her business, once one of the biggest in the city of Lagos, began to fall apart. Contracts were cancelled, clients withdrew their support, and soon, Adesua found herself struggling to keep the company afloat. As her business crumbled, so did Adesua's wealth. She was forced to sell her expensive cars, her jewelry, and even her grand house just to pay off her debts. But no matter what she did, it was never enough. The money that she had once been so proud of was slipping through her fingers, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. In her desperation, Adesua realized that she had no one to turn to. She had pushed everyone away with her cruelty and greed. The people who had once feared and worshipped her now avoided her, and she was left completely alone. The loneliness and regret began to eat away at her, and she started to see the error of her ways. One cold, rainy day, Adesua, now a shadow of her former self, found herself standing outside her brother's house. She was soaked to the bone, shivering from the cold, and hungry. She had walked all the way from the city because she had no money left for transport. Her feet were sore, and she was exhausted. She stood at the door, hesitating. Could she really ask for help from the very people she had treated so badly? But she had no choice. Swallowing her pride, she knocked on the door. When Obei opened the door and saw Adesua standing there, her heart softened. Adesua looked nothing like the proud, wealthy woman she had once been. She was emaciated, haggard, and broken. Without a word, Obei reached out and pulled Adesua into the house, guiding her to a chair. Owowo entered the room, surprised to see his sister in such a state. Adesua? He asked, his voice filled with concern. Adesua couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. I've lost everything, she cried. My business, my money, my house. I have nothing left. I'm so sorry for everything I've done to you both. I was wrong. I was wrong. Ogogo and Obey exchanged a glance. Despite everything Adesua had done to them, they couldn't find it in their hearts to turn her away. They had always believed in kindness and forgiveness, and now they saw that their sister needed both. Obey sat beside Adesua and took her hand. "You are our family, Adesua," she said gently. "No matter what has happened, you're still our sister. We will help you. But you must understand that things have changed. We don't have much, but we will still share what we have with you." Adesua looked up at her brother and sister-in-law, her eyes filled with gratitude and shame. She nodded, knowing that she had been given a second chance, a chance to make things right. And so, Adesua stayed with Ogogo and Obey, helping them with the household chores and taking care of Mama. She no longer demanded respect or tried to control everything. Instead, she quietly did her part, grateful for the roof over her head and the food in her belly. As time passed, Adesua began to heal, not just physically but emotionally as well. She learned the value of kindness, humility, and hard work. She saw how happy her brother and his wife were despite their simple life, and she realized that true wealth was not measured by money or power, but by love, family, and the kindness we show to others. Meanwhile, things began to improve for Ogogo and Obey. The neighbors, seeing how they had taken in Adesua despite everything, began to offer them more support. Ogogo was given more work, and soon they were able to save money to make some improvements in their home. They now had enough to live comfortably and care for their family. Mama's health also began to improve thanks to the loving care she received from Ogogo and Obey. She would often sit at the backyard, smiling and humming softly to herself, happy to be surrounded by her family. One day, as they sat together, Adesua looked around at her brother, his wife, and their mother. She felt a deep sense of peace and contentment that she had never known before. She knew that she could never undo the harm she had caused, but she was determined to spend the rest of her life making up for it. Years passed, and Adesua continued to live with her brother and his wife. She never returned to the city, choosing instead to stay where she had found true happiness. She became known in the town not as the wicked madam, but as a kind and humble woman who had learned from her mistakes. Ogogo and Obey lived a happy life together, surrounded by their children. They never forgot the hardships they had faced, but they were grateful for the love and support they had found in each other. They knew that no matter what challenges came their way, they could face them together as a family. As for Adesua, she lived the rest of her days in peace, content in the knowledge that she had been given a second chance. Though she would always carry the weight of her past actions, she had found redemption in the love and forgiveness of her family. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The story of Obey, Ogogo, and Adesua teaches us a powerful lesson about the choices we make in life. No matter how much wealth or power someone may have, it's kindness, humility, and love that truly makes a person rich. Adesua's downfall reminds us that treating others with cruelty and neglect can lead to loneliness and regret. On the other hand, Obey and Ogogo's patience and compassion show us that even in the face of adversity, staying true to your values and caring for others can bring about positive change and happiness. So as we go through our own lives, let's choose kindness over cruelty and generosity over selfishness. Remember, the way we treat others will always come back to us, for better or worse. Let's strive to be the light in someone's darkness and to build a life filled with love and respect for one another. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the story of Obey, Ogogo, and Adesua. We've seen how kindness, patience, and love can overcome even the darkest of challenges. and how those who act with cruelty and selfishness eventually face the consequences of their actions. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss out on the next one. Your support helps bring these stories to life and share them with more people. And remember, in life, just like in our story, good will always triumph evil in the end. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next story. Bye!